The road stretched empty ahead, wet gleaming under the dull yellow of the streetlights. Beside him sat Emily, half asleep, her head resting against the window. "Another hour to Hollowfield," Daniel murmured, glancing at the GPS. Emily smiled faintly. "We could have stayed the night in London." He shook his head. "I just want to get home." The car rolled onto the A37, winding through the countryside. Fog began to gather over the fields like pale smoke. Soft music played from the radio, an old 80s love song. For a while, everything felt peaceful. Emily stirred. "Feels strange, doesn't it? Driving at this hour." Daniel chuckled. "You've always hated night drives." "I don't hate them," she said softly. "They just remind me of that accident." Daniel's smile faded. He kept his eyes on the road. "We said we wouldn't talk about it again," he whispered. Emily nodded silently and turned back to the window. Outside, fog thickened, swallowing the trees one by one. A few miles later, the radio crackled, static breaking through the music. Daniel frowned and tapped the dial. Then a voice came through, faint and urgent. "Attention, all drivers on the A37. Please be advised. A containment breach reported near Somerset Wildlife Reserve. Stay indoors if possible." Emily looked up. Did he just say containment breach? Daniel shrugged, pretending not to care. Probably some chemical leak. They always exaggerate. But Emily wasn't convinced. Her eyes searched the fog outside, where headlights cut through the mist in trembling beams. They passed a small petrol station, the only light for miles. Its sign flickered, weakly open 24 hours. Daniel slowed down. "Want some coffee?" Emily nodded. "Please, and maybe a restroom." He pulled in. The engine hummed, headlights cutting through the drizzle. The station looked deserted. One light flickered above the shop door. Inside, the air smelled of gasoline and old newspapers. A man stood behind the counter, tall, silent, with tired eyes. Daniel greeted him politely. "Evening. 2 coffees, please." The man didn't answer right away. He just stared at them for a few seconds, then nodded. Emily went to the restroom while Daniel waited by the counter. The man finally spoke. His voice was Rudon-Tao, hesitant. "You shouldn't be out tonight." Daniel frowned. "Excuse me?" The man leaned closer. "They say something got out from the reserve. A big cat, a lion maybe." Daniel laughed nervously. "A lion in Somerset? That's absurd." The man didn't smile. He simply whispered, "Lock your doors. Stop for anything." When Emily returned, she looked pale. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked. She hesitated. "In the restroom, I heard something outside the window, breathing." Daniel forced a smile. "Probably a stray dog." But his voice trembled just slightly. They took their coffees and got back into the car. As they drove away, the petrol station man stood at the door watching them until their lights vanished into the fog. The car disappeared into the mist once more, and the calm night was no longer calm. The fog had thickened so much that Daniel could barely see 10 feet ahead. Emily's fingers gripped the edge of her seat. "Then slow down. I can't see a thing." He eased the car to a crawl. The headlights seemed swallowed by the fog. Then, out of nowhere, a dim yellow light appeared. Up ahead, flickering weakly through the mist. "Looks like a gas station," Daniel murmured. Emily exhaled with relief finally. The place looked ancient. A single rusted fuel pump stood beside a tiny wooden office with cracked glass windows. A faded sign read, "Hollowfield Service." Daniel parked and stepped out. The air was cold and damp. Inside, an old man sat behind the counter. Wrapped in a brown jacket, his eyes were cloudy, unfocused. "Evening," Daniel said. "Just need a full tank." The man looked at him for a long moment, then slowly got up and walked outside. Emily watched from the car uneasily. The man began to fill the tank. "You're open pretty late," Daniel said. The man's voice was hoarse. "People don't usually drive through here at night." Daniel smiled politely. "We're heading to Hollowfield." The man froze for a second. "You shouldn't be." Daniel frowned. "Excuse me?" The man's eyes moved toward the foggy road. "They haven't found it yet." "Found what?" "The lion," he whispered. "It killed a sheep last night near the quarry." Emily's heart skipped. Daniel forced a nervous laugh. "Probably just rumors." The man didn't smile back. "Don't stop, not for anyone." Daniel got back in the car. "He's just trying to scare us." Emily didn't answer. The fog seemed thicker now. As they drove off, the light of the gas station flickered once and went out. They drove in silence. The radio came alive again, static, and a woman's voice. Emergency broadcast. Residents near Hollow Field are advised to stay indoors. The escaped lion. Static silence. Emily whispered, "Let's turn back." Daniel's jaw tightened. We're almost there. Then, headlights caught something on the road ahead, a shape lying still. It was a deer, its neck torn open. Emily gasped, "Oh my God." Daniel murmured, "Get back in the car." As they passed, Emily saw deep claw marks on the body. Silence returned, then Emily spoke. "That old man warned us, Dan." Daniel didn't reply. His face was pale, his hands trembled slightly. Finally, he whispered, "Because that wasn't the first time I've seen claw marks like that." Emily turned toward him in disbelief. "What do you mean, Dan?" No answer, only the sound of the engine and somewhere, faintly, a growl behind them. The growl came again, low, guttural, almost inside the car now. Emily spun around, peering through the foggy rear window. "Dan, I heard something." Danielle's eyes darted between the mirrors, probably the wind. But there was no wind, not anymore. The road twisted sharply left, then right. The car's beams cut through patches of fog, but the shadows seemed to move, like something large was pacing them. Emily's voice trembled, "It's following us." Then a sound. A deep thump against the side of the car. Daniel jerked the wheel. What the hell? Another thump, this time closer to the back. Emily screamed. "Drive, Dan!" He pressed the accelerator. The tires screeched, gravel sprayed. The car shot forward through the mist. Behind them, through the fog, something moved, massive, fast, and alive. For a split second, Daniel saw it in the mirror. Two glowing eyes low to the ground, running effortlessly beside them. "Dan," Emily cried. "It's the lion." "Oh my God." Daniel didn't answer. His jaw was locked, his face pale as chal. A curve appeared ahead, sharp and narrow. Daniel yanked the wheel. The car skidded, tires screeching on the wet road. It barely stayed upright. They came to a stop beside an old stone wall, hearts pounding. For a moment, everything was silent again. Emily gasped for air. "Is it gone?" Daniel didn't answer. He just stared ahead, breathing heavily. Then a shadow moved past the headlights. A large silhouette stepped into the beam, slow, graceful, terrifyingly calm. Its mane rippled slightly in the fog. The lion stood right there. Emily's voice was barely a whisper, "Don't move." Daniel's eyes fixed on it. "If I start the car now, we'll draw its attention." The lion's head tilted slightly. It stared straight at them, not wild, not frantic, but aware. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Dan, please, I can't." Then, without warning, Daniel whispered something strange. "Don't cry, Em, it won't hurt you." Emily blinked. "What?" He turned slowly toward her. His eyes looked distant. "Hunted? Because it's not after you." Emily froze. "What do you mean?" Daniel's voice cracked. "It's after me." A tear rolled down his cheek as he gripped the steering wheel tighter. Emily's heart raced. "Why would it come after you?" He whispered, "Because and the reason it escaped." Emily stared, confused and terrified. Daniel continued, trembling. "I was part of the team that transported exotic animals to private buyers. I handled the papers, the cages, the sedation." He swallowed hard. "That lion wasn't supposed to be here. I lied on the documents. I was paid to make it disappear." Emily's lips trembled. "Dan, you mean?" Yesh's voice was hollow. "The truck crashed. I ran. I left it there alive." Emily's eyes filled with horror. "You said the accident, the one I barely survived." Daniel nodded slowly. "It was the same night and the same road." Tears streamed down her face. "You told me it was a deer you hit." "I couldn't tell you the truth," Daniel whispered. "You'd never forgive me." Outside, the lion growled, a low, almost human sound, as if it understood. The sound of shattering glass faded into the fog. Emily's scream echoed, then silence. Daniel gasped, reaching across the seat. "Emily, stay down." The lion's shadow loomed at the broken window. Its breath fogged the glass, hot and heavy. Daniel fumbled for the ignition again, but the key was stuck. Emily whimpered, clutching his arm. "It's right there, Dan, it's looking at us." Daniel turned slowly and froze. The lion was inches away, eyes glowing in the beam of the dying dashboard light. Its face was streaked with blood, but not theirs. It wasn't attacking, it was watching, studying. Daniel whispered, almost to himself, "You remember me, don't you?" Emily looked at him in horror. "What are you saying?" He turned to her, eyes full of tears. "I left it to die. I'm in that crash. It was trapped in the cage, crying, roaring, and I just ran." Emily's eyes widened in shock and pain. Outside, the lion growled again, a sound of memory, not hunger. Then it stepped closer, pressing its massive paw on the broken door. The metal creaked under its weight. Daniel closed his eyes. It wants me. Emily grabbed his sleeve. No, we can still get away. He shook his head slowly. Not both of us. Before Emily could stop him, he opened the door. A cold wave of fog and fear rushed in. The lion stepped back, growling low, eyes locked on him. Daniel stepped out, trembling but calm. He whispered, I deserve this. Emily screamed, no, Dan, please. But he shut the door behind him. Outside, in the pale mist, Daniel faced the creature. It circled him once, muscles rippling beneath its golden fur. The road was silent, even the wind held its breath. Daniel whispered, I killed your mate in that crash. You remember, don't you? The lion's tail flicked. Its body tensed. Emily pounded the window from inside. Dan, please. He looked back once, gave her a faint smile, then turned to the lion again. End it. The lion roared, a deep, shaking sound that echoed across the fields. It lunged forward. The car shook. Emily screamed. Then silence. A few minutes later, police lights cut through the fog. Blue and red flashes glowed against the misty trees. A local officer tapped on Emily's window. Ma'am, are you all right? We got reports of. He froze when his flashlight caught what was lying on the road. Daniel lay motionless beside the car. His eyes were open, peaceful. The lion was gone. Epilogue, 6 months later. A rainy morning in Hollowfield. Emily sits in a small cafe, staring out the window. The news on the radio hums faintly in the background. The escaped lion from the Somerset Wildlife Reserve has never been found. Officials believe it perished in the cold months following the accident. Emily whispers under her breath, no, it didn't die. She touches a deep scratch mark on her wrist, one she never told anyone about. A shadow passes outside the cafe window. For a moment, she sees two golden eyes in the reflection, then gone.